The Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 is one of those conflicts which has been dubbed as India's victory. But was it really so? Was it an Indian victory or a Pakistani victory? Or perhaps it was a draw? In this episode, we will try to answer these questions. Hello, everyone. This is your host, and you are watching this channel. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 began on April and ended on September, lasting for 123 days. The war had its origins in the troubled and contested history of the two nations' partition in 1947, the Kashmir conflict, and cross-border terrorism. On the eve of the war, India accused Pakistan of infiltrating terrorists into Jammu and Kashmir with the goal of annexing the state. Pakistan, on the other hand, claimed that they were only providing military assistance to Kashmiri rebels known as the Razakars. On April, Indian forces crossed the international border at several locations between Amritsar and Firozapur in the west, and at a few places in the east near the city of Siliguri. A major thrust was also launched into Kashmir. The war saw extensive use of armored vehicles and artillery, with neither side able to gain a decisive advantage over the other. By mid-May, Pakistani forces had pushed back Indian troops from most of the territory captured during the initial offensive. However, there was no let-up in the fighting along the Western Front, where both sides continued to trade villages. It was not until mid-July that Pakistan managed to stop the Indian advances. As both sides settled down to a long haul, efforts were made by world leaders to find a solution to the conflict. In August, UN Secretary-General U Thant visited both countries to seek their cooperation in order to end the hostilities. Both India and Pakistan agreed to a ceasefire starting from the night of August. On September, the two countries signed the Tashkent Declaration, agreeing to end the war and restore the pre-war situation. At the end of the war, the United Nations called for a vote on the legality of the results of the 1947 partition. However, this never took place. Pakistan made significant territorial gains during the war, especially in the western sector. They even penetrated deep into Indian territory and reached the outskirts of the city of Amritsar. Pakistan also successfully defended East Pakistan against the Indian incursion. Yet the war is usually described as an Indian victory. Why is that? What were the factors that led to this perception? Let us find out. At the start of the war, India was under immense pressure to liberate East Pakistan and had grand plans to do just that. These plans included the capture of Jessore, the town of Khulna, and the city of Dhaka, all important urban centers in East Pakistan. Taking Dhaka was especially important because it would send a strong message across West Pakistan, something along the lines that East Pakistan was indeed on the verge of liberation. But India did not capture Dhaka. In fact, India failed to capture any major cities in East Pakistan. Instead, India came very close to losing East Pakistan itself when Pakistani forces counterattacked. In the Battle of Boira, Pakistani forces almost managed to encircle an entire Indian division. Had they done so, it would have become a major talking point in India and could have even led to the collapse of the war. So, what if Pakistan had succeeded in encircling the Indian troops? What if they had defeated them? What if they had announced this victory to the world? Would that have been considered a Pakistani victory? Because sometimes battlefield victories are considered as the only true victories. And according to that logic, Pakistan should have won the war. But before we move further, a little donation will be appreciated. Okay, now, moving ahead. During the war, India suffered some humiliating defeats at the hands of the Pakistan army. But India did not accept these defeats gracefully. Rather, they preferred to ignore them. Take, for instance, the Battle of Chawinda. It was fought between September and September 1965. The battle involved the 1st Battalion of the Punjab Regiment and the 2nd Battalion of the Rajputana Rifles, both of which were part of the 23rd Infantry Brigade of the Indian Army. The 23rd Infantry Brigade was deployed on the Shakargarh Bulge in the Sialkot sector. Their orders were to hold their ground till the rest of the Indian forces built up their defenses. On September, Pakistani troops attacked the Indians at Chawinda. After 3 days of intense fighting, the Indian battalion retreated without accomplishing its mission and with heavy losses. There was not even an official announcement of their withdrawal. That is how the news of the battle reached India. According to some reports, the defeat caused considerable political embarrassment to the government. While the story of the battle was widely reported in the press, the government tried to play it down, claiming that the unit had not been surrounded. Such actions only highlighted the fact that the government was more interested in projecting an image of winning the war rather than actually doing so. For example, the official Indian account claims that India's Operation Jackpot to capture Dhaka failed due to administrative problems in the Eastern Command. The same source admits that the Western Command was never given any such mission. Despite this, they claim that India achieved its objective of stopping infiltration in Kashmir and preventing Pakistani aggression. But how true is this version? How much of it is propaganda? We will try to answer these questions in the coming episodes. But for now, we can say that although Pakistan performed better than India in terms of battlefield victories, the real victory goes to the country which achieves its objectives. And in this case, India did achieve its main objective, which was stopping the infiltration into Kashmir. But achieving smaller objectives does not guarantee a full victory. Neither does repelling an attack guarantee a full victory. Perhaps it's best to call the war a draw. After all, who decides what constitutes a victory and what doesn't? The soldier who dies thinking he is fighting for a lost cause, or the general who claims that his army is invincible despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. History is filled with such examples. During the Vietnam War, the U.S. also did not win many battles, but they still managed to win the war. Similarly, during the Kargil War, Pakistan also did not win any major battles, but they still managed to extract their soldiers from the Kargil heights. Does that mean that Pakistan also won the war? Of course not. All it means is that both sides achieved their objectives in the war. Pakistan stopped India from capturing Dhaka, and India stopped Pakistan from infiltrating into Kashmir. In that sense, the war was a draw. However, we must admit that the question of victory or defeat cannot be answered so easily. In fact, every war is different, and each must be analyzed individually. The outcome of the war must be seen in conjunction with the original objectives of the conflict. For example, if Pakistan's goal was to capture the Indian territory of Jaisalmer, then they would have won the war. Conversely, if their goal was to take Islamabad, then they would have lost. Since Pakistan did not have any clear objective in mind, their victory is difficult to assess. Some people might say that Pakistan did not lose any territory, and they even captured some parts of Ladakh and Punjab, so they won. Others might say that since they failed to take any major Indian cities, they lost the war. But these arguments only apply to Pakistan. India, too, had no clear objective going into the war, but their objective could be inferred from their past actions. In the years leading up to the war, India had laid a lot of emphasis on liberating East Pakistan. If that was their objective, then they did not achieve it. But at the same time, they did stop Pakistan from infiltrating into Kashmir. So the war ended in a stalemate. But stalemates are rare in wars. Most wars result in one side achieving its objectives while the other fails to achieve theirs. Such wars are easy to analyze. The side that achieves its objectives wins the war, and the side that does not win loses the war. But the Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 was different. It resulted in both sides achieving some of their objectives while failing to achieve others. Such wars are difficult to analyze, and we have already seen how even the experts are divided over the issue. Some consider the war as India's victory, while others consider it as Pakistan's victory. Some believe it was a tactical victory for India and a strategic victory for Pakistan. Some believe that it was neither a victory nor a defeat, but a stalemate. So, who is right? The truth is that none of these versions is completely true or false. Each one of them has its own merits. The 1965 war was a complex affair, and any attempt to simplify it by labeling it as a victory or defeat is bound to gloss over certain realities. Therefore, it is best to view the war as a combination of both victories and defeats. In that sense, the war was a mixture of everything. India won some battles and lost others. Pakistan, too, won some battles and lost others. India achieved some of its objectives and failed to achieve others. Pakistan, too, achieved some of its objectives and failed to achieve others. When viewed in this light, the 1965 war comes across as a complex affair, a mixture of everything. Now let me ask you, do you agree with our assessment of the war? Is it a mixture of everything? Or do you think that one side clearly won the war? Clearly, there are no easy answers to such questions. Every individual is free to form his or her own opinion about the war, and we would love to hear yours. So do share your thoughts with us in the comments below. If you like this episode, then please hit the like button and share it with your friends and family. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss out on any of our future episodes. Thank you for watching.